There's a lot of buzz about this car, and it's no wonder because the Santro was the car that really created the success story of Hyundai in India, and it was a runaway success when it was first launched. Well, this new hatch, the Santro, Hyundai have got a lot riding on it, and can it recreate the magic is what we've got to find out. When Hyundai announced this name for its latest hatchback, everyone expected the tall boy silhouette that made it so distinct. Yes, it is still tall, but it's also a lot longer and wider, so it doesn't look as upright as before. In fact, it bears a strong resemblance to the Grand i10 and shares similar swept-back headlamps, Hyundai's new Cascade grille, which looks a little too large on this car, and fog lamps that are integrated into the grille. The sides get a lot of creases and shadow lines, and there's a reverse arrow over the front wheel arch. There's more detailing like the shoulder line that dips down over the rear door and additional creases over the rear wheel arch. All of these come together to make it a more dramatic side profile. The rear has a simple set of tail lamps, but once again a blackened out area under the bumper mimics a diffuser and houses reflectors. It adds a little lift to the otherwise simple rear. Overall, it's a smart little hatch, and like most Hyundais, it will appeal to most. The interior of the Santro looks really well appointed for a car of its class. We've got the optional version which has these funky green highlights along the AC, the central console, the gear lever area. But the other variants have a dual tone dash which has classy gold highlights along the similar areas. The central console, along with its 7-inch touchscreen, grabs your attention. They're crisp, clean dials that give you fuel economy and, of course, your trip meter. The Santro is also well equipped, getting features like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, MirrorLink and voice recognition. There is also a reverse camera, which is a first in the segment, with sensors that tell you of your proximity. There are also power adjust wing mirrors, one USB port up front, cup holders, a large glove box with a storage ledge above it, and rear aircon vents. While it does seem pretty packed, you also notice other areas where they have skimped, like the Hyundai logo on the steering wheel, which is finished in grey plastic and not chrome, the lack of height adjustment for the front seats, or any adjustment for the steering. And you need to open the boot from the outside or else reach for the lever in the driver's footwell. Finally, it's things like the fixed headrests front and rear and the lack of a door lock or unlock button. Also, the window buttons are placed below the gear lever in a place where you would have to take your eye off the road to find them. They're also not backlit, which makes them harder to access at night. Now, a critical area for India is here, the rear seat, and this is where the old Santro really scored well. This one's not quite as tall, but it is still extremely spacious. In fact, I think it is the most spacious in its segment. Loads of legroom, nice wide seat, and there is a lot of headroom here as well. The seats themselves extremely comfortable, good under thigh support. But really, the kicker here is the inclusion of rear AC vents. They're small, but they do the job well. For a compact car, it has a large enough boot, and you could easily fit in a couple of trolley bags. The rear seat has no split, but will fully flip down to open up additional room should you need it. Well, it's finally time to get going, and first up I noticed that the seating position is nice and high. Visibility all around is really good, and I'm extremely comfortable, but this steering position is a bit low, and without any steering adjust or seat height adjust, a taller person might not find it as easy as me to get comfortable. Though this is a new generation platform, the engine is not new. It's the same 1.1-litre Epsilon engine that was in the old Santro Zing and in the original i10. In this latest state, it makes 69 HP and 99 Nm of torque. This is on par with Maruti's 1-litre K10 engine, but lower than Tata's 1.2 Revotron. The 20.3 km per litre RI-rated fuel economy figure is lower than both rival engines as well. Although it's the same figure whether you opt for a manual or an AMT in your Santro. That's right, you can have this car with a 5-speed AMT. It's Hyundai's first attempt ever at one, which is why we thought we'd give the AMT a try first. You don't feel that long pause and sudden jerk when you're shifting up gears, and even downshifts come extremely smoothly as well. The only time you feel that long pause is between first and second. But I still have to say that this is one of the smoothest AMT boxes that I've driven. The creep mode is extremely good as well, and even the manual mode functions like a manual would. So I have to say Hyundai have done a really good job, and all signs point to this being the slickest AMT around. After that, we shifted back into the manual for the rest of the drive. In the manual, the clutch is light and easy, and the gearbox in a typical Hyundai manner is also smooth and slots in well. This engine doesn't exactly leap off the line, but it pulls well in a nice, clean, linear manner. And it really picks up the pace after about 2000 RPM. But what's really nice about this engine is that you can be a very lazy driver. I'm going to put it into third. Now look, I can come down and I'm going to really slow the pace down. So I come down to even slower than this. So I'm really crawling 1000 RPM. All I have to do is put my foot down, and as long as I'm gentle with the throttle, it just picks up a pace and gets a move on. So driving in city traffic is really going to be a breeze. Now, when you are out on open stretches of road and you need an urgent overtake or you need to demand a sudden burst of power, then you will need to shift down a gear. Now, out on the highway at higher speeds, the Santro feels quite stable and planted, doesn't quite feel like a small car. And the steering that's light and easy in the city actually feels consistent even around corners. The ride quality of the Santro is surprisingly good too. At low speeds, it masks the road imperfections like a bigger car, and at higher speeds, it feels composed as well. To put the new Santro into perspective, it's important to remember how much the market has grown since the original Santro. This is no longer an entry-level car and not a rival for the Alto or the Kwid. In fact, its rivals are the Celerio and the incredibly well-priced Tiago. Hyundai has made some compromises to keep costs in check, like using the older generation engine and some other minor cost-cutting measures inside and out. But these don't really affect the consumer much, and what they've done is bring a lot of wow factor to the table, which is what this segment was seriously lacking. It's got a bold design, it's got really well-finished interiors, it scores well on space and comfort too. But the real game changer is the host of segment-first features that make it more desirable than its competitors. The well-featured touchscreen is of course its crowning glory, but there's also stuff like the rear camera and sensors that make you feel like you've gone a segment higher. But it's not just that. The fact that this car is just so easy and effortless to drive in most conditions is what makes it a very compelling city car to buy, whether we're talking of manual or AMT.
This is the Tata Tiago, this is the Tata Tigor, but these ones are very different, and that's got everything to do with this little badge that reads JTP. In brief, these are souped up versions of the Tiago and Tigor and are the first of the products from JT Special Vehicles, a joint venture between Tata Motors and Coimbatore-based JM Automotives that is big in the business of racing. The JTPs are manufactured on the same production line, offered with the same warranties, and have the same service intervals as the regular Tiago and Tigor. But you sure won't mistake the JTPs for their everyday versions. We'll focus on the Tiago JTP, and the car sure looks the part. The 4mm lowered ride height, larger 15-inch wheels, and chunkier 185 section tires alone give the JTP a squatter, sportier stance. There are plenty of look faster styling bits as well. The front bumper with its exaggerated air dams immediately identifies this car as the spicier of the Tiagos, and the smoked finish projector headlamps are straight off the refreshed Tigor. The grille gets a new honeycomb mesh, and there's even a vent on the bonnet. And it's not there just for show. It actually helps to dissipate heat from the engine compartment. Whence, just after the front wheel arches with prominent JTP badging, neatly done side skirts, and the sleek diamond-cut alloy wheels add the right amount of flash to the sides, as do the contrast mirror casings. A restyled rear bumper with a Ford diffuser does its bit at the rear, while the dual-pipe exhaust completes the JTP transformation. A tasteful transformation indeed. It's nicely done on the inside as well. The JTP's cabin isn't vastly different to the standard Tiagos, but there are enough cool touches to give it a unique vibe. There's the JTP logo and red stitching on the seats and steering, red surrounds for the aircon vents, and there's even red lining for the floor carpets. The drilled pedals aren't quite as well finished, but drivers will like the meaty leather wrap steering. Over to the juicy details, and this is where things get really interesting. Let's start with what's under the bonnet. Out goes the standard Tiago's naturally aspirated 1.2-litre petrol engine, and in comes an enhanced version of the Nexon's turbocharged 3-cylinder 1.2-litre petrol unit. On the JTP, the engine runs a revised intake and exhaust system, taking power up to a cool 114 horsepower. That's 29 horsepower more than the standard Tiago. The engine comes allied to the standard Tiago's 5-speed gearbox, but with the ratios tweaked for brisker acceleration. So, how does it all come together? In town, the JTP sure feels livelier than a standard Tiago. It's still not as peppy as a Maruti Swift, and the engine does take some revs to get into its stride. Also, the power delivery tends to feel jerky in low-speed environments, perhaps owing to snappy fueling. There are 2 driving modes on offer, and City, that restricts torque to 115 Nm, is fine for town. But you experience the best of the JTP when you press down on this little button that reads Sport. What that does is give you full access to all of the engine's power, and it does liven things up a fair bit. This is not a rev-happy engine, but keep revs above 2.5 to 3,000 RPM and you'll be in the best part of the power band. You don't get that typical turbo surge from this engine, but performance is actually quite good, just not hot hatch good. And what about the way it sounds? The JTP sounds nice. The 3-cylinder engine, it gives that thrum which actually works with the nature of this car. It sounds a bit raw, it sounds a bit unfinished, but I just wish it was a bit throatier and a bit louder. Engine apart, it's the JTP's dynamics package that, well, make it a JTP. The springs have been lowered, the dampers have been optimized, but the biggest gains, say engineers involved in the JTP's development, have come from the tires. The Tiago JTP gets bespoke 185 by 60 R15 tires. And a few turns into your favorite driving road, you'll realize this is the real deal. This is no sticker job. There's really a lot of good news. The Tiago was already a good base to build upon, but the Tiago JTP, it takes things to the next level. It's more involving to drive in the sense it's keener in the corners, it's better to brake, it's grippier, and you just get that feeling of connect with the car that's almost become missing in most cars on sale today. You'll be tempted to drive the JTP a lot faster than you'd ever think you'd drive a Tiago. The Tiago steering already had plenty of fluidity built into it, and there's more of that here with the added advantage of more weight. There's more feel at the wheel, though a bit more feedback would be welcome still. But on the whole, you get that extra sense of confidence which really allows you to chuck the car into corners. Sure, the JTP rolls and it will understeer at the limit, but there's enough of the good stuff to qualify it as one of the best handling cars under 10 lakh rupees. What's nice is that the added dynamism hasn't come at the cost of ride comfort. Low speed bump absorption is really good and the car feels blunted at cruising speeds. Let's quickly shift focus to the other JTP. Just like the Tiago JTP, the Tigor JTP also impresses. There's plenty of poke from the engine, handling is neat and well balanced, and if there's a difference, it's that the Tigor perhaps feels a bit more sure-footed owing to its longer wheelbase. The Tigor JTP is a bit more mature in its handling, but the package is just as characterful. The Tigor gets all the same exterior and interior updates as the Tiago JTP. The differences as such mirror the differences between the regular Tiago and Tigor. The compact sedan is the only one with auto climate control. It's slightly roomier at the back owing to its longer wheelbase and of course offers more space for luggage too. Were it my money, I'd go for the Tiago JTP that is also significantly more affordable at 6.39 lakh rupees ex-showroom versus the Tigor JTP's 7.49 lakh rupee price tag. The models are between 1 to 1.2 lakh rupees pricier than the range-topping versions of the standard cars. But see what you get for the money and also see the JTPs in perspective of other sporty models and they come across as quite the deals. The JTPs are cars for enthusiasts by enthusiasts. They're not perfect, but there's a certain character to the JTPs that make them very endearing. They're the sort of cars that you'd buy because you love to drive. Fuel economy is not high up on the list of priorities. So, for keen drivers on a budget, the Tiago JTP and Tigor JTP are among the best options out there.
Two-wheelers form about more than 60 to 70% of our total vehicle count. And most of the riders who are riding two-wheelers are youngsters. Safety issues relating to two-wheelers are another major cause of concern. Young people riding two-wheelers who are very casual about their safety and security. And I think there is not enough peer pressure and pressure at home from the parents or the others to use safety measures and treat road safety very, very seriously.
These statistics are shocking and they've put India on the map for all the wrong reasons. It's time to wake up, time to take action, and it's time to get serious about road safety. Suzuki Motorcycle India and Autocar India teamed up to tackle one major safety issue on our roads. The massive nationwide Helmet for Life campaign was launched to promote the use of helmets amongst two-wheeler riders in India. The objective of the campaign was to create awareness amongst two-wheeler riders about the importance of helmets and how they could prevent fatal accidents by just wearing one.
I think it is our responsibility to teach how to handle the motorcycle properly. And also please keep a traffic rule. And in order to avoid human error, we have to properly guide them. Don't drink or please wear the proper riding gear, including helmet.
The campaign took place in 15 cities across India where the highest number of fatalities were recorded. These included Delhi, Gurugram, Lucknow, Hyderabad, Pune, Nagpur, Surat, Ahmedabad, Kozhikode, Vijayawada, Dehradun, Kolkata, Bengaluru, Chennai and Navi Mumbai. The local traffic police of each city were also involved in the campaign and they were given 5 fully kitted out Suzuki Gixxer motorcycles to add to their fleet for on-road patrolling. The Helmet for Life campaign aimed to stop riders who weren't wearing a helmet, charge them the designated fine and then proceed to educate them on the dangers of not wearing a helmet.
Daily 30-20 accident हो जाता वो एक्सीडेंट में 3-4-5 हेड इंजरी केसेस है वो प्रिवेंट करना के बोले तो कंपलसरी आप टू व्हीलर ड्राइव करने के टाइम पे हेलमेट ठीक है इसका मत ये समझ लेना कि एक बार फाइन कट गई और फिर मैं बिना हेलमेट चलूंगा ये सिर्फ आपको एक याद दिलाने के लिए आपकी फाइन काटी जा रही है कि आप दोबारा फिर हेलमेट धारण करेंगे आप हेलमेट क्यों नहीं पहन के चलते हो ये तो आपकी सुरक्षा के लिए है.
They also went on to give them a helmet free of cost to ensure that they never ride helmetless again. Local police across the country pretty much had the same things to say on the reasons for people avoiding helmets.
The number of fatalities, road fatalities because of accidents are highest in the world. We lose more than 1 lakh persons every year to road accidents and a large number of them are youngsters. So that is the biggest worry. 3 things have to go, hand in hand. One is that there should be strict enforcement. Second, there should be education and awareness. and we should use persuasion also. Unless people cooperate fully, it is not possible.
If you wear helmet, you can save your life. At the same time, you cannot leave your loved ones in despair and distress. When you buy a vehicle more than a lakh rupees, you can also invest in 2,000 rupees by buying a helmet.
The number of the two-wheelers is almost 80% of the total vehicular population. So most of the accident is by the two-wheelers only.
So I will appeal to each and every person, not only the person who are driving, even the pillion rider must use helmet.
On part of the riders, the excuses were also pretty similar across the country.
Actually, I was going to a nearby destination only, so I thought in a hurry, and I was in a hurry, so I forgot to wear it actually.
I was just going nearby, so I thought, why should I wear a helmet? It's just a nearby place.
There are certain things I can't see behind from this helmet. Okay, I have to use the mirror and all that stuff. That's the reason I have not used it.
The campaign seemed to have enlightened some of the riders who began to see the potential risk to their own life.
Thanks for Suzuki helmets for providing me this good quality and absolutely stunning helmet.
When we look for safety, I feel it is okay if it is going to be uncomfortable.
Helmets for life.
Helmet for life.
The nationwide campaign came to an end after 57 days, during which 11,000 helmets were distributed amongst two-wheeler riders and 60 fully kitted out motorcycles were given to the local policemen. Thousands of riders across India were also made aware on the dangers of riding without a helmet, and the hope is that they continue on as ambassadors of safety too.